As most viewers know, the Lucchese family has a Jersey faction called the Jersey Crew, and today I'm going to be discussing them. In the early 2000s, there was a case that jammed up two members of the administration. It all started by an investigation called Operation Heat, which involved a $2.2 billion illegal gambling ring. In December of 2007, 24 people were arrested, including members of the Lucchese family, stemming from the illegal gambling operation. Among those arrested were the Perners, Ralphie, Joe, Johnny, and Ralphie Jr., Marty Tassetta, John Blackie Mangrella, and also members of the Lucchese ruling panel, Matty Madonna and Joe DiNapoli, and Joe Perner's brother-in-law, Michael Cheddar, who was a Bonanno associate. During the investigation, law enforcement placed bugs in the cars that the Perners drove. As a result of this electronic eavesdropping, they learned of the November 10, 2007 induction ceremony that was held in Toms River, New Jersey. On that day, both Joe and Johnny Perner would be inducted into the family. When the ceremony was over, both brothers were in a car driving home and being recorded. Perner was telling his brother not to trust Joe DiNapoli. People have their ways. Don't believe for a second that if it's something serious, Joey will always protect you. And by Joey, he's talking about DiNapoli. At this time, the captain for the Jersey Crew was Nicky Scarfo Jr., son of the former Philadelphia boss, Nicky Scarfo. But the Lucchese administration decided to make some changes and were replacing Scarfo with Ralphie Perner, and they left it up to the Jersey Crew as to who would break the news to Scarfo. Joe Perner was recorded telling his brother the news of their father's promotion. He's the new captain tomorrow. I'm going to go down and tell that other kid he's demoted. Perner volunteered the task to go tell Scarfo, who he hated. Obviously, Joey Molino hated Scarfo, and since Perner mimicked any feelings Molino had, he hated him too. Believe me, if Molino loved Scarfo, Perner would be singing him praise. After hearing the news, Johnny Perner laughed and told his brother, "I'm sure you're broken up about that." Perner's car was also equipped with a hidden GPS tracking device, and the next day he was tracked to a rest stop off the Garden State Parkway, where he met and broke the news to Scarfo. Perner had told me the satisfaction he felt telling Scarfo that he would be taken down. He said after he told him, Scarfo just looked confused and said, "Okay." I remember seeing the joy in his face when he was telling me the story, and I remember thinking he shouldn't be so happy with that situation. Today, you're telling a guy he's being taken down, and tomorrow somebody's telling you the same thing. For the people who have the misconception that the mob is a brotherhood, listen closely to what I'm about to say. Any guy in that life should want to see his brother do good and not applaud him when he falls. There is no brotherhood. Everyone is just out for their self-interest. Even after the December arrest, the investigation for Operation Heat continued. And on May 14, 2010, a New Jersey grand jury indicted 34 people with a racketeering indictment with newly presented evidence, such as thousands of pages of affidavits, as well as wiretap and video surveillance. Included in this indictment was Nicky Scarfo Jr., a high-ranking blood member named Edwin Spears, his brother Dwayne, a New Jersey correction officer named Michael Brunton, Joe Perner's wife, and her sister, who was Cheddar's wife. The gambling operation consisted of bettors that would call 1-800 numbers, as well as password-protected websites connected to a Costa Rican wire room. One bettor gambled $2 million over a 2-month period. The Jersey Crew would kick up 25% of the take to the Lucchese administration. One of the Perners would either meet Matty Madonna or Joe DiNapoli at the Golden Eagle in the Bronx with their end of the money. Both Joe Perner and Michael Cheddar befriended Edwin Spears, whose street nickname was Mavelli. At the time, Spears was serving time at a New Jersey prison. The three men entered a business arrangement, with Spears running a contraband business in prison that included drugs and cell phones. They would front the money and get it to Spears' brother Dwayne, who would purchase the drugs and cell phones. At the time, a $30 prepaid phone would go for $600 in the prison. Dwayne would meet with Michael Brunton, the correction officer, who would smuggle the contraband into prison to Spears. Inmates who purchased the drugs or phones from Spears would send money orders to women's friends of Spears. After receiving the money, the women would meet with Perner or Cheddar and give them their cut. Consequently, both women involved were also charged. Edwin Spears was a high-ranking member of the Nine Trey Gangsters, one of the blood sets that operated in multiple counties of New Jersey. They were also known to be one of the more violent sets. Law enforcement had taped conversations between Joe Perner and Spears. One, which regarded drug money, Spears told Perner, "Listen, tell him to front the 5. I'm going to pay for it. I'm going to see off the 5. I'm going to see 7,000. In another call, Perner wanted Spears to help to stop a Lucchese associate from being extorted by the Bloods. Spears told him that they should mention his name. In another conversation, Spears told Perner, "Yo, I love you guys. You know what I'm saying? You feel me? I know you hear me, but I want you to feel me. To which Perna responded, yeah, I hear you. I feel you. Could you imagine Carlo Gambino having that conversation? Joe Perna and his wife were charged with falsifying records, failure to file tax returns, failure to pay gross income tax, and money laundering. The Pernas reported zero income for 2005 and $63,836 in 2006. However, bank records indicated that they deposited $329,531 into their accounts. The mortgage fraud took place after they entered false information on a loan application, one where they were approved $900,000 to purchase their home in Wyckoff, New Jersey for $700,000. Edwin Spears' brother Dwayne decided to cooperate with law enforcement and admitted receiving money to buy heroin, cocaine, marijuana, and prepaid cell phones. He said he would meet with Brunton and hand over the contraband. In 2012, Dwayne Spears pled guilty in exchange for a 5-year sentence. On June 10, 2013, Michael Cheddar passed away. According to Joe Perna, Cheddar was the big money maker. He lived in $1 million house and had fancy cars, and it seemed Perna was trying to emulate him. I first met Perna when they transferred him to our crew, the Brooklyn faction. At the time, the Jersey crew wasn't getting along with each other, so the administration split them up. We actually had Ralphie and Johnny sent to us first, but they were eventually sent back to Jersey. Then we received Joe Perna. In the beginning, he was a happy-go-lucky type of guy, but understandably, the closer it came to going to trial or taking a plea, his mood changed. By June of 2015, most of the defendants began taking pleas. I remember Joe Perna complaining that they wanted him to forfeit his summer home on the Jersey Shore. I told him, you're lucky they're not taking the house in Wyckoff. About a week or two later, he told me something that never made sense. He said he requested to speak with the prosecutor and that he not only convinced him to let him keep the summer house, but to dismiss the charges against his wife and sister-in-law. The one thing I do know is a prosecutor never gives you anything for nothing, and they'll always come away with the better end of the deal. Matty Madonna was one of the first to plead and took a 5-year sentence and went in. In January 2016, sentencing for most of the defendants took place. Ralphie and Blackie received 8 years. Marty Tessetta was already serving life plus 10 years, took another 8 years. Joe DiNapoli received 3 years, and Joe and Johnny Perna received 10. Prior to Joe Perna taking the plea and the sentence, we had a conversation one day. He told me that he needed someone to handle his gambling business while he was away. He explained that Michael Cheddar had an Irish guy named Mike who he hid from everybody, including Perna, and was a gold mine. He said after Cheddar passed away, he found out who this bookmaker named Mike was and took over whatever arrangement Cheddar had with him. He said on most weeks he collected between $10,000 to $20,000 from him. So he asked me if I would collect the money and after taking 10% for myself, get the remainder of the money to his wife. I agreed. He also wanted to introduce me to a few of his associates. One was his cousin named Pat and his brother. He said in the event that they ever had a problem, they could reach out to me and I could handle it. So I took a ride to New Jersey one day and I met all these guys and I gave them my number. We also went to meet the Irish guy named Mike in a bagel store in Wyckoff, New Jersey, not far from Perna's house. When we walked in a bagel store, this guy Mike was waiting for us. He introduced us and we all sat down. Perna told him to exchange numbers with me, but never said a word about the sports business. About a week later, I was invited to Perna's house. He was going in the following day to start his sentence. There was a lot of people there, including Joey Molino and some of Perna's friends, but no one from our crew except me. The Irish guy Mike was also there. Perna introduced me to a big black guy named Bishop, who he later told me was a boss with the Bloods. As the night came to an end, I pulled Perna to the side and told him, let's take this guy Mike out in the yard so we could go over the arrangements. But Perna didn't want to talk with the guy. He said he would call him in a week after he got settled in, and he would have the guy get in touch with me. I heard from Perna about 2 weeks after he went in. After making small talk, I told him I never heard from that guy, but he said he still had to call him. I had the guy's number, but I just wouldn't reach out to him on my own. Perna would frequently call now and then and never mentioned the guy, and neither did I. One day, I brought the conversation up to Johnny Sideburns. When I was done explaining what took place, he looked at me and put his head down. He said, Perna mentioned the arrangement he wanted to do with you to Big John, and I think Big John offered to handle the guy himself. Well, just another example in a mob you never knew about. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please remember to hit the like button, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, you could do that as well. I want to take the opportunity to thank all the subscribers as we just passed the 25,000 mark. I really appreciate it. If you think friends and family might enjoy this video, please share it, and thank you. Enjoy your weekend, and I'll catch you on the next one.